In the past, astronomers likely to break the cover-up were quietly killed, so it looked like an accident. Nancy Lieder has a website, zetatalk.com, and I've been reading her page for several years. I used to follow Half Past Human, but they rarely got a hit on any of their predictions, and when they claimed a hit, the prediction itself was so vague that I would not count it as a hit. And the claim made by Cliff High is that he's slightly better than Chance, but who's doing the counting? Him? What is considered a hit? If you remove all the vague predictions and disallow all the far-fetched stretches, what's left? Chance? Not good enough for me. Those who have the least to offer are charging you for their information. Meanwhile, Nancy Lieder has thousands of predictions, and they're free. She has some very close friends from the star we call Zeta Reticuli, and they are correct almost 100% of the time, and they have the records to prove it. I'll give you a link at the end of this video. It will take you to 294 weeks of their predictions, with the latest predictions on top. That would be issue 294 this week. Today is the 19th of May, 2012. Now next week, issue number 294 will be replaced by 295 in the first spot, and 294 will be in the second spot. The newsletters come out on Sunday, but Nancy gets them done early, and I get an email notice every Saturday. You can sign up for her newsletter, and then you never miss an issue. She doesn't demand any money from you like Benjamin Fulford does for his reports about arrests that weren't made, or the resignations of the Pope on April 15th, which didn't happen. I'm sorry to be critical, but here's the way it is, folks. Either your predictions turn out to be true, or your reports are verified, or you lose some of your audience. And those who stick with you may want you to clean up your act. Yes, I'm aware that Benjamin Fulford was reporting what he saw in an Italian newspaper, and that's all. It wasn't his prediction, it was the Italian newspaper's prediction, but he chose to bring that to you as a prediction, and it turned out to be false information. So who's to blame? Fulford didn't lie. He just relied on the Italian newspaper, and the Italian newspaper was wrong about the Pope's resignation. If Fulford is guilty, then who else is guilty? I read that report on my channel, and people are holding me responsible for what Benjamin Fulford said. Every day I have to defend Benjamin Fulford for the things he says. Last week he said something about being offered $1,200 trillion in a bond from the Queen. And I had to read that to his followers because they're demanding that I read his reports. And if I don't read them, they write me and they say, "Where's the report? I subscribe to your channel. Now where's the report?" When I read this $1,200 trillion bond, I almost choked. A couple of weeks before that, I had to read that the CIA in Europe contacted Benjamin Fulford and asked for a list of names and addresses of those in the Committee of 300. The CIA doesn't have that information? I don't write the Benjamin Fulford news. I just read it like a newscaster. If you want to kill the messenger, you should first read the Nancy Lieder newsletters and decide if I deserve to die. If I'm redeemed by Nancy Lieder's newsletters, then I want you to send me an apology for being so cruel and inhuman and making me cry when I'm alone. I'm joking. I didn't cry about that. But when I see Iraqi children bandaged up and bloodied from the unnecessary war, I feel very bad, and I'm not joking this time. I want that war to end now, for real, not as an election ploy by a bunch of liars and con men who fake birth certificates and claim murders that didn't take place, and then murder American citizens who haven't even been charged with a crime. They haven't had due process of law. Obama just killed them without any charges or even any suspicions. This isn't right. This man is awful, and he's stomping on our Constitution. Drake needs to go down there and arrest him. And if Obama isn't in the paddy wagon when they make the arrests, I'm going to abandon Drake. He'll have one less fan. If arrests are made by Drake, he should arrest the main puppet for the Illuminati. This guy that's living in the White House, the freeloader, with no birth certificate from this country. He's got a nice birth certificate from Kenya. He doesn't want to use that. Makes him look bad. Anyway, Fulford has some cleaning house to do with his sources, and after he cleans up his act, Cliff High needs to prove that his future prediction theory is better than chance. You will notice that Cliff High is trying to freelance now into a different arena. He's losing popularity, perhaps, on his future prediction theory. Slightly better than chance, he says. David Wilcock needs to cure some people over the telephone to prove that he is the reincarnation of Edgar Cayce. And if he can't, the public needs to know that he's not Edgar Cayce. And David Wilcock needs to fade out of sight permanently. Okay, we've talked about the fakes and the Drakes, and Drake is not a fake. And we've talked about the Fulfords and the Highs, and Fulford is not high. It's time to talk about Nancy Lieder, who is rarely wrong about the predictions she gets from her contacts, and we need to recognize the fact that she's been at this for many years. She has archives you can read dating back to 2006 with thousands of links so you don't have to hunt for anything she says. She has a very nice system. It's a well-organized website, and everything is all tied together. It's just a masterpiece of connections where you read one thing she writes and she links it to something she wrote before and you get a link. She has nothing to hide. And she's so accurate that the Nazi government here, with Obama as the Führer, wants to close her down. The Gestapo wants to close her down. The Department of Homeland Security. So she's got to be doing something right if the government wants to close her down. I think there would be a lot of protests. And when you carry signs into the street, I hope you have one that says, "Don't close down zetatalk.com." All right, with that introduction, I'm going to read a portion from this week's newsletter. I'll begin with this sentence. In the past, astronomers likely to break the cover-up were quietly killed, so it looked like an accident. That's Nancy Lieder's words. The mobsters always say, make it look like an accident. And in the CIA labs, they have developed a weapon for committing murder that makes it look like an accident. Have you heard of it? It's called the Venus Shooter. The CIA gives healthy men heart attacks, and they die. Their hearts just stop beating. Nobody raises any questions because it was a heart attack. Do you want a CIA that murders astronomers? How about inventors who free you from the slavery with free energy devices? Do you want the CIA to murder them? I don't. I want the CIA gone. And take the Federal Reserve with you. And take your buddies over there at the Center for Disease Control. You guys aren't controlling anything. You guys are communicating diseases. If you're like me, folks, you prefer your state isn't part of the federal government and you want to secede from the Union. And in this way, we fire the federal government and all those crooked agencies that suck your tax dollars and murder your emancipators. Nancy Lieder is not the only one who thinks astronomers are murdered. If you type in astronomer killed into Google's advanced search, second line, you get 3,860 results. Astronomer killed, 3,800 web pages. I'm on the 4th page, and they're all about a Japanese astronomer in Chile who died in a robbery. A robbery. Give me a break. They have nobody to rob but an astronomer. Nancy says, I don't believe it was a robbery. I don't believe it was a robbery either. A hit, maybe, because the astronomer said he doesn't want to go along with the plan to keep Nibiru, or Planet X, a secret. And he refused protection, and he was murdered, according to the Zetas. According to the aliens who watch from the sky and monitor every breath that's taken here on the earth, they said he was murdered. Do you believe them? They can see everything from space, and they have advanced technology. That's how they got here from their star, their planet. Nancy has had children with them, so she's not just another fake channeler, like so many claim to be. I didn't say she's sleeping with the aliens. I said she had children with them. Aliens take the egg, and they fertilize it, and they get a hybrid. Half alien, half human. And they have their reasons for doing this. They're going extinct. Nancy has met these offspring, but they stay with the Zetas, not with Nancy. So she is not a channeler, and don't use this term with her, please. When the CIA puts thoughts into the heads of channelers, like Obama is such a nice guy, those channelers don't have their baby. Nancy also did not have their baby. The egg was taken, and it was all done on alien ships. They have their own incubator womb, artificial. Nancy has met some of her children, and if you go to her main page at zetatalk.com, you can read for the next 5 years about it and all the other things that are there. There's so much there. You better hurry, though, because Obama isn't allowed to let us breathe freedom or hear the sweetness of truth. Obama is the worst thing that ever happened to America, and the Iron Curtain is closing on all free speech. Why do you think they passed all the new laws? That's why Obama is granting government unlimited powers with his dictatorial executive orders. Nancy knows she will soon be closed down, and the only way you will ever know the truth is if you download the entire site now and store it on your computer until the government zaps all of our computers with electromagnetic pulses to clear your hard drive. They collect every email, and they put spy algorithms on your computer to send information back to them. Watch your task manager once in a while when your computer slows down. I have seen 75 outbound connections when I wasn't connected to a web page. And what's that all about? Who is receiving my data? Okay, now I'm reading the Nancy Leader website. Zeta Talk statement, February 15th, 2000. Now what she's doing here is she is calling up an old writing from February 15th of 2000. This was before 9/11. She writes, in the year 2000, look at the secrets that have been muzzled so far. JFK, where a single bullet was supposed to have traveled through several bodies. Who believes that? I want to interject something here. Nancy is talking about the Kennedy assassination. Arlen Specter is the one who pushed this one-bullet theory, and he helped the Warren Commission lie to us in order to do a favor for his friends at the Illuminati. Arlen Specter is one of them. He needs to be in the paddy wagon when the arrests are made. Arlen Specter. Nancy forgot to tell you that it was Arlen Specter who really pushed that CIA lie. There's something else that few people know. When they wheeled Kennedy into Parkland Memorial Hospital, some stupid CIA jerk put a pristine bullet on the stretcher. How stupid can you be? Did this CIA agent think the doctor was going to have a eureka moment and find the bullet and say, oh my God, I have the bullet, folks? Tell all the other doctors that he found the bullet? Doctors are not that stupid. CIA agents, yes, but not doctors. CIA agents are goons. Doctors are not stupid. They took a few science courses. They know what a bullet looks like when it passes through any carcass, animal carcass or human carcass. They know what it looks like. This bullet was still in the cartridge, still in the packaging, the gunpowder and so on. Stupid CIA agent. This is about as stupid as Mohammed Atta's passport falling out of a plane that's in the sky and landing in a policeman's lap. Stupid. Yet you have people who are even stupider, and they believe it. I believed it. I believed the Warren report for years. I thought Lee Harvey Oswald killed Kennedy. Today, everybody knows that the body was modified. Anybody who's looked into the JFK assassination knows the body was modified. The brain was removed on the airplane. All those in Washington who handled the photos know they were modified. Do a little research. You'll find out what I'm telling you is true. The photos of the JFK assassination were modified, just like Obama's fake certificate of birth from Hawaii. It was contrived. We need to get rid of the CIA and put an end to their drug dealing and child trafficking, and you folks can do it. I told you how earlier, if you were paying attention. One word, people. Secession. 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 Dun-dun. Secession. Secession flushes the toilet, and the federal government is fired, all in one fell swoop. Think about it. Spread the idea, and let's tell these feds that we're sick of the IRS, the Federal Reserve, and the RFID chips in the vaccines, not to mention their plan to murder billions of innocent people. Okay, now back to the Nancy newsletter. She says, nevertheless, the one bullet theory is the official explanation. I would not call it an explanation, I'd call it a lie. The official lie. And those who know better are either silenced, kept quiet by their personalities, Nancy says, and their sense of duty, or their desire to be part of the structure, or they are killed. Now, a lot of people are controlled by money. They're told, if you talk, we'll take away your pension. Now, how would you like to retire with no pension? These guys are quiet, and they desperately want the truth out. But those who know how to control people, control them with money. We will take away your pension if you talk. They're silent their whole life. They die with the secret. That's how they kept them quiet on Roswell. They controlled the information with money, and soon they will control us with water. Nancy says that it happened also with Planet X, that a number of people have been killed. She doesn't tell you who, but she says that they were killed because of Planet X. This guy in Chile might be one that she mentioned. She says these kinds of deaths ripple through the community that is aware of this, so it is a harsh reminder that they too should keep their mouths shut. When Nancy says these things boldly like this, it makes you wonder, is she being protected by the Zetas? If she got killed, would they do time travel and go back and make it not happen? Makes you wonder. She sure has a sassy mouth, and she sure is telling it like it is. I worry for her. Zeta Talk Analysis, December 4th, 2004. Now that was 8 years ago, almost. The greatest fear a cover-up has is an uncontrolled unraveling. Now she said this back in 2004. The cover-up is primarily a desire to use the passage of Planet X as an opportunity to come out on top of the pile when the dust settles, to control people and assets, to destroy opposition and seize control, to place a restless public into a slave labor status during the turmoil and thus emerge as kings. Well, Nancy, you're right, and it's already happened. We are already slaves. She says at best, perpetuating the cover-up was to retain perks and status and pay for as long as possible. Participation in the cover-up was a demand expressed as a national security issue to dampen panic and protect the public's safety. Nancy says that we're 7 out of 10 on this Planet X shift of the Earth's crust, and effectively getting a pole shift, because if the crust moves, then north and south are not where they used to be. The crust moving leaves north and south in a different place. North and south do not change, but the crust will move. Now these surviving astronomers had better speak up before they are also hit by the CIA or another arm of the slave masters. So if you're going to see fireworks, it's going to happen pretty soon, I think, because we're 7 out of 10. Now back to Nancy Lieder's newsletter. But the gloves have come off with the recent assassination of a Japanese astronomer working on the Atacama Large Millimeter Arrays, ALMA. Atacama Large Millimeter Arrays, ALMA, radio telescopes in Chile. In a highly suspicious assault where the police did not even note a head injury, Koichiro Morita was pronounced dead 6 hours after being taken to the hospital. According to the Zetas, this was a loud warning to any other who might be inclined to break the long-standing cover-up over the presence of Planet X in the inner solar system. According to the Zetas, Morita declined protection from the Council of Worlds, choosing instead to be a martyr in the cover-ups. Now, notice the name there, Council of Worlds. That is not the Galactic Federation of Light. The Galactic Federation of Light is praising Obama Is the Galactic Federation of Light on Obama's side? If so, that's not my side. I would go with the Council of Worlds instead, because anybody who praises Obama is definitely not on my side. And I didn't know there was a Council of Worlds. But based on the years of reporting the truth, I would go with them rather than anybody who praises Obama and promises us NESARA funds, which I don't think exist. And Nancy never talked about ascended masters. So I'm highly suspicious of the Galactic Federation of Light. Now, the write-up, if you want to go to the webpage, you can get the link to this article. I'll read it here briefly. Japanese astronomer found dead in Chile. May 8, 2012. Koichiro Morita was found still alive outside his apartment at around 2 a.m., reportedly with an injury to the head. He died nearly 6 hours later at a nearby hospital. Investigators have not yet determined the cause of death. You know why? If they had him for 6 hours and they don't know how he died, that sounds like Illuminati influence to me. Somebody's leaning on those guys, threatening them. Investigators have not yet determined the cause of death. Local reports indicated Morita did not have visible injuries, though a medical report supposedly mentioned a brain injury. Morita worked for the past 2 years at the Santiago headquarters for the Atacama Large Millimeter Array Telescope, radio telescope, ALMA, in Chile's northern Atacama Desert. Now, we need to pause here and take a look at this. He's robbed, and there's no injury. Then he gets to the hospital, and suddenly he has a brain injury. Did the robber bypass his skull and injure his brain without any outward indication? Gee, these robbers have advanced technology, much like the secret government, it seems. Could there be a connection? What secrets did this guy have? Did he know something that we don't? Here's a clue. He's an astronomer. Oh, gee, what could he know? Could it have anything to do with, say, astronomy? Lucky guess, maybe. Now back to Nancy. Zeta Talk Expose, May 12, 2012. So this is a week ago. Lately, the cover-up has gotten vicious and forceful as they sense they are about to lose the battle. Morita was one member of the community who was restless and did not like being ordered into silence on a matter so vital to the inhabitants of the planet Earth. Well, that is a clue, isn't it? His death was sent as a message to others of like mind. If you talk, you'll be murdered, basically. The battle over the cover-up is becoming more polarized. You bet. We have the believers, and then we have the fooled, the suckers. Morita's death has been announced as brain damage from a blow to the head, but as news articles show, this was not evident when he was found unconscious, nor is it logical that he would be in hospital for 6 hours yet not be saved. The skull is open to relieve pressure if bleeding is present. He was slipped a poison ingested prior to returning home, where he collapsed before getting to his apartment. This was not enough to kill him, a botched job, so he was finished off at the hospital, Nancy says. Now, how would Nancy know? She has aliens in spaceships that watch all this, and they've been reporting to us for many years. And I've been reading the reports, and I will vouch for them. They know what they're talking about. They are not Cliff High. They are not Benjamin Fulford. When they tell you something, you can take it to the bank. And not Obama's bank. His check bounced. He said it was going to end both wars as soon as he got into the presidency, and you could take that to the bank. Well, the bank called and says his check bounced. Okay, so Nancy thinks it was a botched job. They finished him off at the hospital. I'm not going to read any more from this newsletter because I covered the part I wanted to cover. There's a lot more, but if I cover the whole report, we'll be here all day. You can go there and read it without my comments. I cannot cover Nancy Lieder's newsletters. There's not enough hours in a day for me to be able to do any more. I'm doing as much as I can. I won't have any time to sleep if I carry any more. I'm using up all the time I have, and I really want to read a few books. The Wendell Stevens book is very important. I've got to finish that task. I'm going to put up the link now to the archives of Nancy Lieder's Zeta Talk. All you have to do is secede from the Union and click on this link on the screen now. Thanks for listening. Are verified, or you lose some of your audience, and those who stick with you may want you to clean up your act. Yes, I'm aware that Benjamin Fulford was reporting what he saw in an Italian newspaper, and that's all. It wasn't his prediction. It was the Italian newspaper's prediction, but he chose to bring that to you as a prediction, and it turned out to be false information. So who's to blame? Fulford didn't lie, he just didn't spot. The newsletters come out on Sunday, but Nancy gets them done early, and I get an email notice every Saturday. You can sign up for her newsletter, and then you never miss an issue. She doesn't demand any money from you like Benjamin Fulford does for his reports about arrests that weren't made or the resignations of the Pope on April 15th, which didn't happen. I'm sorry to be critical, but here's the way it is, folks. Either your predictions turn out to be true or your reports are... But who's doing the counting? Him? What is considered a hit? If you remove all the vague predictions and disallow all the far-fetched stretches, what's left? Chance? Not good enough for me. Those who have the least to offer are charging you for their information. Meanwhile, Nancy Lieder has thousands of predictions, and they're free. She has some very close friends from the star we call Zeta Reticuli, and they are correct almost 100% of the time, and they have the records to prove it. I'll give you a link at the end of this video. It will take you to 294 weeks of their predictions, with the latest predictions on top. That would be issue 294 this week. Today is the 19th of May, 2012. Now next week, issue number 294 will be replaced by 295 in the first spot, and 294 will be in the second. In the past, astronomers likely to break the cover-up were quietly killed, so it looked like an accident. Nancy Lieder has a website, zetatalk.com, and I've been reading her page for several years. I used to follow Half Past Human, but they rarely got a hit on any of their predictions, and when they claimed a hit, the prediction itself was so vague that I would not count it as a hit. And the claim made by Cliff High is that he's slightly better than Chance,